So like Thanos, I would say Australian women's cricket team, they're inevitable.
The inevitable. What a team. What the. It is one of the greatest ever teams that is currently there on God's green earth, as they say.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, breaking news, Australia women's cricket team are now the 6-time World T20 champions.
Or to borrow a phrase which you would be very familiar with, they're the six-time world champions.
World T20 champions. They have now done the four-peat by beating South Africa by 19 runs in what was a rather, you may say, a clinical performance.
A one-sided final. It was a one-sided final.
It was.
I mean, at no point were you sitting there thinking, maybe South Africa have a chance. No.
No.
Didn't look like it.
Didn't look like it. It was Beth Mooney's magnificent 64. Yet again, the alpha player when it comes to ICC events for Australia in the
Absolutely.
final. And then you had some good hitting by Ashley Gardner. She ensured that Australia at least got to a total in excess of 150.
Absolutely.
But South Africa, power play. This is the power play. 6 overs, just 5 boundaries.
That was actually what ended up costing them because again, you're looking at a target of 150 odd at a venue where, truth be told, there has been some success, or rather success batting first.
Yep.
And you're thinking you need a quick start because it's going to get more and more difficult. South Africa got the exact opposite, and at that point, it was always very much advantage Aussies.
8 overs, they just had over 40. And you were up against the asking rate from the very beginning. But Laura Woolwart, once again, having plied her trade for the WBBL franchisees there, she knew that she could stay there, she could at least offer some hope for the South Africans. She hit 61, but once she was dismissed.
Once Woolwart
Game
was
over.
gone, it looked like the game was very much done. Chloe Tryon, at the end, you were thinking, yes, maybe, considering the asking rate was so high, whack a couple of lusty blows. Yes, maybe there was a chance, but that's the thing with this Australian team. Every single time you think you have an answer, they're going to change the question. Or better yet, they'll stick to the questions which you don't have an answer to, which in this case was Jess Jonathan.
Jess Jonathan, a left arm spinner bowling in the death overs. Yes, that is the talent, that is the brilliance that Australia have. And look at it, when Chloe Tryon had hit a 6, Chloe Tryon, she just thought that, okay, maybe South Africa still have a very, very small chance. But when Jonathan bowled her, you could see she was down, she was gutted, she walked off with a tear, and that was about it.
Because you knew at that point, whatever slim hope they had was pretty much done for. It wasn't going to be a case of them actually being able to mount any kind of fight. By then, you were 45 of the last 3.
Yes.
You needed a big 18th over. You needed a big 18th over.
You needed it, and that is why you couldn't get it, because this Australian team, when pushed against the wall, they can raise their A game to a next level. I mean, look at Megan Shute. Bowling in the 19th over, she nailed 3 Yorkers.
Exactly.
And South Africa needed 27 of the last.
And don't forget, she nailed 3 Yorkers at a point where the match was all but done.
Yep.
So even that 5% chance which you're thinking maybe South Africa have snuffed out, just like that.
And look at how it is, okay? When in the last over, the game was done. So Australia's fielders, Jonathan still dived at the boundary to stop a certain boundary. That's how professional, that is how clinical they
That's
are.
how committed they are to the cause. And the cause at this point is simple. It's just to keep winning.
Keep winning. And remember, this is the second time they have achieved a hat-trick of T20I titles. Remember, they had lost in 2009, but then they came back in 2010, beat New Zealand, 2012 and 2014 before they, unsurprisingly rather, they lost to the West Indies at Kolkata.
Exactly.
But then, mission after Harmanpreet Kaur's 171, which knocked them out in the semi-final,
They've been dominant in clinical.
Meg Lanning just sat down and said, okay, this is the horizon that we have to just scan. We have to build a team. We have to ensure we are better under pressure and ensure that all bases are covered. Fielding, batting, bowling. And look what has happened. 2018 T20 World Cup title win. 2020 T20 World Cup title win. 2022 ODI World Cup. Commonwealth Games, and now 2023. So actually it's not the 4-peat, it's the 5-peat that Australia women's cricket team have managed. And as I have said it from the very beginning, many teams huff and puff, fight amongst themselves only to lose to Australia in the finals. I mean, it is a remarkable achievement. As I said, the Southern Stars, the Australia women's cricket team, They are right up there with one of the greatest teams that's there in the history of sport. The New Zealand All Blacks, maybe the Chicago Bulls, the Los
Maybe
Angeles
the Brazilian
Lakers,
football team of the
Brazilian-
60s.
Yep, absolutely.
All of these teams, they were generation defining. And when you're looking back 10, 20, 30 years from now on and you're talking or chronicling the history of women's cricket, it is going to be impossible to look beyond the kind of impact that the Southern Stars have had because they've just been so successful so consistently.
Yep. I mean, just look at the bare facts. There are only 3 teams in the history of T20 in the World T20 that have defeated Australia more than 2 times.
Yeah.
New Zealand, England, and India. The list ends there.
That's it.
That's it. South Africa have never won against Australia in T20Is. 7-0. That's about it. They lost in the league game here, and now in the final with the expectation it is.
And having a very vocal home crowd coming there to support them, because again, when you look at South Africa, you can say that they've been unlucky or they've just kind of imploded at the worst times possible. If you're looking at their entire cricketing history, the chance of being able to lift an ICC tournament at home, in front of a home crowd, Newlands, wonderful stadium, plenty of fans, just wasn't meant to be. Southern Stars said, yeah, that's your plan, never mind. Our plan is we're going to take that trophy home. That's exactly what they're doing.
And they back it up with words. They back it up with the action on the field. And remember, nothing seems to trouble this Australia women's cricket team. I mean, uncharacteristically in the power play, the 2 boundaries that came were courtesy misfields.
Yeah.
One was at mid-on, the other was at short fine. Apart from that, they just didn't look ruffled. And looking at the way how clinical they were, especially Ashley Gardner, Jess Johnson, Megan Schutt, Darcy Brown. Remember, it was Darcy Brown who broke open that partnership against India. She did the same thing here as
Absolutely.
well. But the batting, Beth Mooney. Ice woman indeed for all the situations. Look at she had 206 runs in this tournament alone.
Correct.
She was the leading run getter even in 2020. In the finals, I'm like, my goodness, how can one individual raise her A game to such a big level?
Yeah.
And remember, she was the slowest to begin with, and she took out a maiden over from Shabnim Ismail. Yet she ended with 64 on a pitch which was increasingly becoming difficult to bat on. Australia have showed that adaptability wise and everything else, they trump any team. And it's not as if they have not won in just one condition. They won in South Africa, they have won in West Indies, they have won in England, they have won in Australia also, they have won in India also, they have won in Sri Lanka also, Bangladesh also.
They are able to win across conditions. They're built that way. They're built different. It doesn't matter what conditions you put in front of them. They have the answers to all those questions. And perhaps more important, that one intangible, that winning mentality come what may.
Exactly.
And that's what really separates them from the rest. For me.
I will stick my neck out and say Meg Lanning's Australia is greater than Ricky Ponting's Australian cricket team. Because look at the records. 26 game ODI winning streak. And now they have won 5 in different editions. I mean, look at it. 3 T20 World Cup, 1 ODI World Cup, and also the Commonwealth Games gold. What more do you want from this Australian team? They have done it, but remember, their appetite has still not dimmed. They still want to win. They still want to dominate. And remember, England at one point in time, they were actually ahead. When you look at Australia. Now they have fallen so far behind now. 7 ODI World Cups for Australia. 6. 13 is no longer unlucky. It is the greatest 13 that can ever be in the history of sport. So, South Africa, yet again, a missed opportunity, but they only have their batters to blame because they just got off to a very poor start. 8 overs, 40 in a chase of 150 plus, that too in a final. I am sorry.
It's just not good enough.
You cannot be winning that. You needed something spectacular. And that didn't happen because Chloe Tryon, Laura Woolward just couldn't get going.
There was too much pressure. If you had gotten even 50 odd runs in the power play, you were still in with a fighting chance. You didn't get there. And then after that, as the overs got less and less, the asking rate kept going higher, as did the pressure situation.
Exactly, and there was 2 very saddening visuals that I saw at that point in time. One was Chloe Tryon absolutely gutted. She just couldn't bear to watch. Some of the supporters absolutely glum faces. Remember, a rare moment in South Africa's history in cricket that you at least managed to reach the final.
Yeah.
But unfortunately turned out, imagine, best as Shane pointed out, Newlands, packed crowd, beating Australia, a team where South Africa have always had a very kind of a inferiority complex. The men's team will tell you how important it is to beat Australia. They just missed that out. And oh boy, this team, salute to the Southern Stars. I mean, they are one of the greatest ever teams to walk on this planet. And Meg Lanning, I'm sure she'll be determined to say how it will be. But let us take a moment to reflect on South Africa's journey. Lost in the opening game to Sri Lanka by 3 runs. They had also lost to Australia in the league stage. They were wondering what we needed to do. They got that inspiration by winning against Bangladesh. They defeated New Zealand. Luckily, they had a magnificent performance against England in the semi-final, knocked them out. So they came to the final. And remember, there are 3 very important players who made South Africa's dream possible. Tasnim Brits in that semi-final. Remember, very interesting story on Brits. I'll just take about 30 seconds to describe each player. Brits was a 2007 Youth Olympics gold medalist. She specialized in javelin. And she was going to represent South Africa in the Olympics in 2012. But a car accident. Remember, we were all talking about what happened. She was just reading a message. Just for 1 moment, she looked at it. A car accident happened. It tumbled. She luckily tumbled out of the car because if she was in the car, she would have been dead. She was in ICU and intensive care for close to 5 months. Her athletics career was over, but she took a career in cricket. And Tasnim Brits ensured that the Brits were eliminated in the semi-final. Shabnim Ismail, one of the fastest bowlers currently in women's cricket. She is a cashier at a departmental store. She was a cashier before cricket took over. Look at her grit and determination. Ayabonga Kaka, you would remember this South African tearaway quick, Mufneko Ngam. She comes from his academy, his cricket academy. Took 4 wickets, got them in the final. Every match is a tribute to the current South African team for the grit that they have shown. Yes, if they had won, the entire landscape of South Africa's cricket would have changed. But I think now there will be some gloomy things because opportunity missed for the Proteas.
But again, I think the kind of run that they had to the finals, even though it was at home, it was against the odds anyway. So them making it this far in itself should be something of an inspiration to not just, of course, future women's cricketers, but also hopefully the administration, that they actually start taking women's cricket just that little bit more seriously. Because again, it's not like South Africa don't have talent, but they do need a little bit of, let's say, that ruthlessness that the Aussies did not lack.
Yeah, and as Match Tracker said, experience of playing finals helped Australia.
Absolutely.
We need Rahul Bide. We need this type of players and captain of having mindset of winning matches. Absolutely. Sridhar Deshpande is saying it is a criticism for India's ex-captain saying he didn't want trophy cabinet full. I don't know who said that.
No, I have no idea.
Meg Lanning has to be Delhi Capitals captain. Varun Parutne is saying no-brainer.
Absolutely agree. Can't really be anyone else.
I hope so. Virendra Kumar, 2-time hat-trick, AUS champion, 6-time. Hardeep Singh is saying Beth Mooney is Mrs. Cricket. She is Lady Mike Hussey of the Australian. Don't compare her to Mike Hussey. Meg Lanning is Meg Lanning. Beth Mooney and Beth Mooney is Beth Mooney. She is sublime in whatever she does. This Australian women's cricket team has set a yardstick that many teams might not be able to do.
Absolutely.
They'll be very lucky if they can even come close to them.
Exactly.
So rounding off, it's the same old story which I had said.
Is that
7 teams compete against each other only
with
to
the
lose
honor
to
to lose to Australia in the final? But
and Dex says, how did Australia lose to West Indies in the final? Inspired play. That's all I will say from the Windies. And remember, that Windies team did a three-peat. Won the Under-19 World Cup, the women's team won the T20 World Cup, and the men's team did it. Carlos Brathwaite, remember the name. So congratulations to the Southern Stars. What a mind-blowing performance.
Wonderful performance in the finals. Very clinical. They were very assured. Even at times when they looked slightly in danger, didn't look like they were in any danger of losing the match. And well, that's exactly what happened.
6th time.
They ended up winning the trophy for an unprecedented 6th time.
13 white ball trophies for this Southern Stars team of geniuses and brilliance. So thank you so much, folks, for joining us for this live. That's the end of the ICC T20 World Cup for the women. Let's see now what happens in the next couple of years. And remember, women's cricket is still not over. Next week, the
WPL begins, so that's a big time.
Big time. And
massive
interesting
time for women's cricket.
Yep. But Australia, the Southern Stars, salute to them. And tap that bell icon, folks, so that you know when we go live. And yeah, Ash Gardner's a player of the tournament. Not surprising at all. Her power hitting and her wickets and her fielding ensured that she had to be the player of the tournament.
Absolutely.
So subscribe to Sports Today for all the latest news and analysis. Shane is just putting on a fake smile because his club unfortunately lost.
Yeah.
and I'll let him go on a good note.
Relatively high note. let's
Relatively
say.
high
Anyway,
note. Yep.
thank you
Okay,
guys for
so
joining.
thank you so much, folks. Bye bye. Thank you. Good night.